Narcissism, as a term, often gets casually thrown around to label someone who's excessively self-involved or overly concerned with their appearance. However, true narcissism is much more than just an inflated ego or a superficial obsession with one's image. It's a recognized personality disorder that profoundly affects an individual's perception of themselves and others, influencing their interactions and relationships in significant ways. One of the most common traits in a narcissistic man is an inflated sense of grandiosity and superiority. This isn't simply confidence or self-assuredness, but rather a pervasive and exaggerated belief in their own exceptionalism. A narcissistic man operates under the conviction that he is superior to others, even when there is no objective evidence to support this belief. This grandiose self-perception manifests in various ways. For instance, a narcissistic man will frequently exaggerate his achievements, talents, or skills. He will also claim credit for successes he had little to do with, or inflate the importance of his role in certain situations. Simultaneously, he expects to be recognized as superior, even when his achievements don't merit such recognition. He will demand respect and admiration from others, regardless of whether he has done anything to earn it. This expectation of automatic reverence causes significant strain in relationships, as the narcissist will react negatively when his perceived superiority isn't acknowledged by others. Another characteristic trait of a narcissistic man is his insatiable need for admiration. He is perpetually on the hunt for compliments, and thrives on being the center of attention. This intense need for admiration often results in the narcissist seeking out situations where he can be in the spotlight. He will make it a point to dominate conversations, constantly steering the topic back to himself and his achievements. He will also engage in grandiose actions or behaviors solely for the purpose of gaining admiration from others. When their expectations for constant admiration are not met, narcissistic men often react with frustration or even anger. The absence of the expected admiration can be perceived as a personal affront, leading to feelings of resentment towards those who they believe are not giving them their due recognition. Moreover, they often resort to fishing for compliments, subtly or overtly seeking praise. This could include downplaying their accomplishments to elicit compliments or constantly showcasing their talents or possessions in hopes of receiving admiration. It's important to understand that this need for admiration is not driven by a healthy self-esteem but rather a fragile sense of self-worth. Despite their outward appearance of confidence, narcissistic men depend heavily on external validation to maintain their inflated self-image. This constant craving for admiration is a coping mechanism to mask their deep-seated insecurities and self-doubt. One of the most striking characteristic traits of a narcissistic man is a profound lack of empathy. It's important to clarify that this doesn't mean they're incapable of recognizing what others are feeling. Quite the contrary, many narcissistic men are adept at picking up on emotional cues and can accurately gauge what those around them are experiencing. However, instead of using this understanding to offer support or comfort, they often use it to further their own interests. Their primary focus remains firmly on their own needs, desires, and feelings. The feelings and needs of others are totally disregarded and dismissed. The narcissist is indifferent to the distress of others, and will not hesitate to exploit the people around them, without feeling any guilt or remorse. In fact, their ability to understand the emotions of the people around them is weaponized for manipulation. They use their knowledge of a person's feelings or vulnerabilities to exert control or gain an advantage. The emotional pain or discomfort of others is simply seen as collateral damage in their pursuit of personal gain or satisfaction. This lack of empathy isolates them from meaningful, reciprocal relationships, trapping them in a cycle of self-focus and disregard for others. An intense sense of entitlement and an inclination towards exploitativeness are defining traits in the character of a narcissistic man, who operates under an entrenched belief that he is inherently deserving of special treatment. He expects others to go above and beyond to cater to his needs, often without any consideration for their own well-being or boundaries. Narcissistic men may believe they should always be the exception to the rule, exempt from the constraints and responsibilities that apply to others. They perceive any form of criticism or disagreement as a personal attack, reacting with anger or defensiveness when their expectations of preferential treatment aren't met. Exploitativeness is another prevailing trait of a narcissistic man. He will take advantage of others to achieve his goals, manipulating or deceiving them, while showing little regard for the impact of his actions on his victims. A narcissistic man's sense of entitlement and exploitativeness underpin a self-centered worldview where their needs, desires, and ambitions take precedence over everything else. Their interactions with others are thus transactional, based on what they can extract rather than mutual respect and reciprocity. Narcissistic men grapple with a paradoxical mix of envy and arrogance, two traits that dominate their interactions with the world around them. These seemingly contradictory emotions actually operate in tandem, fueling their narcissistic tendencies and shaping their behaviors and attitudes. Their envy is often so profound that it taints their perception, leading them to believe that others are also envious of them. They subsequently interpret benign actions or comments as signs of jealousy, further feeding their narrative of superiority. In essence, the interplay of envy and arrogance creates a volatile emotional landscape for narcissistic men. Their envy drives them to constantly compare themselves to others and fuels their desire for superiority. Simultaneously, their arrogance serves to uphold their inflated self-image, enabling them to dismiss others as inferior or less worthy. Understanding the traits of a narcissistic man is crucial in recognizing and navigating relationships with them. These traits form the core of their personality structure and influence their interactions with others, often leading to unhealthy dynamics and emotional harm. Ultimately, dealing with a narcissistic man requires patience, understanding, and firm boundaries. It's equally important to prioritize one's mental and emotional well-being, seeking professional support if necessary. For more information about narcissists and narcissistic abuse, visit www.carlacorelli.com.